With Sony absent, the Microsoft and Nintendo showcases were undeniably the events that people were most excited for at this year's E3, and I think Microsoft managed to live up to the expectations people had for them. This was a showcase that really drove home the value of Game Pass, with 27 of the 30 games shown during this presentation being available on Game Pass. This was also the first press conference since Microsoft purchased Bethesda, so it was interesting to see the Bethesda and Xbox conferences merged into a single event. At the end of this video, I'll be giving my full thoughts on the event itself, but right now we have 30 games to discuss, so let's get right into it. Microsoft kicked the showcase off with a bang, revealing the first trailer for Bethesda's long-awaited space epic, Starfield. We've known for a while that Starfield was going to be Bethesda Game Studios' next big RPG, so it was nice to finally get a look at it, even if we didn't get to see any gameplay. While this trailer was mostly a tone piece that gave us a look at some of Starfield's futuristic tech, it did still give us a couple of interesting pieces of information. Firstly, it was confirmed that Starfield will in fact be an Xbox console exclusive, which is something people have been speculating about since Microsoft acquired Bethesda. And secondly, it gave us Starfield's release date, which is still quite far away. Starfield will be launching on the 11th of November 2022. If it hits this date, Starfield will launch exactly 11 years to the day after Skyrim released. Seeing as this is a first-party Xbox game now, it will of course launch on Game Pass day one. It's still pretty insane to think that a game of this caliber will be freely available for every Game Pass subscriber. Next up, we got a nice lengthy look at the gameplay of Stalker II. This is the first time the Stalker series will be appearing on consoles, and it's promising to be a true next-gen experience, boasting 4K resolution with ray tracing. I was really impressed by how good this game looked. The facial animation, lighting, and particle effects all look extremely high quality. This trailer gave us a good idea of what the moment-to-moment gameplay will look like in Stalker 2. Showing us combat as well as the protagonist throwing bolts around the environment to search for dangerous anomalies around him. Left 4 Dead's spiritual successor, Back 4 Blood, got another showing here, with this new trailer introducing the game's PvP multiplayer component, Swarm Mode. In Swarm Mode, you'll be able to play as both the humans you're normally playing as well as the zombies hunting them. Aside from the multiplayer aspect, this trailer also showcased a lot of campaign gameplay, with 4 players fighting off the endless hordes of the undead. This trailer did a great job of highlighting just how many variants of these zombies we'll be learning to fight off in Back 4 Blood. I'd say this was easily my favourite trailer we've seen for this game yet. The biggest news of this showing, however, is that Back 4 Blood is going to be on Game Pass day one. Getting a huge AAA game like this on Game Pass is a huge win for Microsoft. I loved Left 4 Dead, so I cannot wait to play Back 4 Blood in October. Contraband is a new Xbox exclusive game from Avalanche Studios, the studio behind the Just Cause games, and it was revealed with a very brief and very vague trailer. While we don't know much yet, we do know that Contraband will be a co-op open world game. I'm glad to see Avalanche working on a new IP, because it was really starting to feel like fatigue was setting in around the Just Cause games, with the series seeming to peak at Just Cause 2. An unexpected but logical collaboration sees Pirates of the Caribbean content coming to Sea of Thieves. A Pirate's Life is a new story expansion that'll see iconic characters from the long-running Disney franchise, like Jack Sparrow and Davy Jones, making their way into Rare's online pirate game. I never played Sea of Thieves due to its mixed reception early on, but I've heard it's been steadily improving over the years, so I'm actually thinking about jumping in and finally giving it a shot. This new DLC is actually dropping this week and is free for all players. Yakuza Like a Dragon is now available on Game Pass. This means that you can now play through every mainline Yakuza game with Game Pass. If you haven't checked out any of the Yakuza games yet, I can't recommend them enough. I absolutely love this series, so I'm glad more people now have the opportunity to check out these absolutely absurd games. Battlefield 2042 was revealed with a cinematic trailer last week, and now we have our first look at gameplay. This trailer was filled with all the Battlefield hijinks you'd expect. This was a very good trailer that showcased gunplay, vehicles, and operator-specific equipment like the grappling hook and wingsuit. I also like that it showed players switching their guns' mods in real time during matches to better suit the situation they were in. This trailer also showed off Battlefield 6's impressive weather effects that'll seemingly keep you on your toes and force you to mix up your strategies, with this trailer showing sandstorms and twisters ravaging the game's maps. It's worth noting that with Battlefield 6, DICE have entirely ditched the campaign to focus purely on the multiplayer experience. As someone who's usually more of a single player person, I was initially a little disappointed to hear this. But upon thinking about it, none of the recent Battlefield campaigns have been particularly great, so this may very well be the right call. One of my most anticipated games, 12 Minutes, finally got a release date after being shown for years. 12 Minutes is an interactive drama about a man stuck in a time loop that ends with a police officer arriving and accusing the man's pregnant wife of killing her father, before knocking the man out and killing his wife. You then replay the same 12 minutes over and over again, trying to unravel the mystery and prevent the time loop's tragic outcome. 12 Minutes also features the voice talents of Daisy Ridley, James McAvoy and Willem Dafoe. As I said before, this is one of my most anticipated games, and it has been for a couple of years, so I'm excited to finally get my hands on it in just a couple of months' time. Psychonauts 2 is another game we've been waiting years for a release date for, and ironically, we now know that it's coming just 6 days after 12 Minutes. Psychonauts 2 is the long-awaited sequel to the cult classic platformer, and like the first game, it looks weird as hell. Psychonauts 2 looks absurdly creative, and it also seems way more ambitious in scope than its predecessor, with this trailer showcasing a massively varied lineup of environments. As this game was crowdfunded long before Microsoft acquired Double Fine, it will also be releasing on other platforms, despite Double Fine now being a first-party Xbox studio. 10 more Bethesda games have joined Xbox Game Pass, bringing the total of Bethesda games on Game Pass to 30, meaning you can now play just about every Bethesda game of note with a Game Pass subscription. Let's quickly run through all the new Bethesda games coming to Game Pass. Arx Fatalis, Fallout, Fallout 2 and Fallout Tactics are now available on Game Pass for PC. Doom 2016 and Rage are available on Game Pass console and cloud streaming, and Dishonored Death of the Outsider, The Evil Within 2, Wolfenstein 2 The New Colossus and Fallout 3 are all available on Game Pass for console, cloud and PC. Doom Eternal is getting a free upgrade for current-gen consoles. This update also includes a 4K mode and a performance mode that'll let Doom Eternal run at up to 120 frames per second on Xbox Series X. Doom Eternal was one of my favourite games of last year, so if you haven't played it yet, there's no better time than now. After its catastrophic launch, I've heard Fallout 76 has been gradually improving over the last couple of years, and at this conference we got a look at some of the content coming to 76 in the future. First up is a new story expansion, Steel Reign, that as you may have guessed from the title, focuses on the Brotherhood of Steel. Players won't have to wait too long for Steel Reign either, as it's launching on the 7th of July. 2022 will see the release of Fallout 76 Expeditions, The Pit, which will see players returning to The Pit, the Fallout universe's version of Pittsburgh, which we previously went to in Fallout 3's DLC. I love Fallout, and like a lot of players, I jumped into 76 early on and was massively underwhelmed, and haven't looked back since, but I've heard nothing but good things about the changes that have been made to the game since, so maybe it's finally time for me to revisit Fallout 76. Elder Scrolls Online's Console Enhanced Edition that improves the game for current-gen consoles received a new trailer. This upgraded version of ESO is available right now, and it's free to everybody who already owns the game on PS4 or Xbox One. Party Animals is a new party game that clearly draws more than a little inspiration from Gang Beasts. That's not to say that Party Animals is exactly the same as Gang Beasts, as Party Animals seems to have more of a focus on weapons, and Party Animals undeniably looks a lot more polished visually than Game Beasts. Roguelite masterpiece Hades is finally done with its Switch console exclusivity and is coming to all other consoles in less than 2 months. If you haven't had a chance to play Hades yet, make sure you give it a shot once it hits Xbox and PlayStation consoles. Hades is a remarkable roguelite and one of my favourite games of 2020. And if you're an Xbox gamer, it'll be on Xbox Game Pass day 1, so there's no excuse to not play it. Somerville is a new side-scroller that follows a family trying to survive an alien invasion. Somerville has massive inside vibes, and there's a good reason for that. Somerville is being developed by Jumpship, a studio co-founded by one of the co-founders of Playdead, the studio behind Limbo and Inside. Somerville boasts a striking art style, and its haunting piano music perfectly complements the game's ominous tone. This was one of the most intriguing trailers of the Xbox Showcase, and it certainly piqued my interest, so I'll definitely be keeping an eye on Somerville. Halo Infinite had a new campaign cinematic shown, and offered us our first, long-awaited look at its multiplayer. This showing left me feeling a lot more positive about Infinite than I was going in. While I still wouldn't call Infinite a visually impressive game necessarily, it certainly looks a lot more polished now than it did when we saw it last year. Halo Infinite's guns in particular look a lot better than they did previously. They're way more detailed and textured now. Halo Infinite's multiplayer gameplay looks like a lot of fun, and when it comes down to it, that's what matters most. The gunplay looks fast and fluid, and I love the way the grappling hook is being implemented to change the way Halo multiplayer is played, with the trailer showing one player snatching a gun out of midair with the grappling hook, and another player grappling straight to a flying vehicle to hijack it. Overall, I was pretty impressed with the multiplayer aspect of Infinite, and it's worth remembering that the multiplayer component of Halo Infinite is completely free to play. Where my concerns lie with Infinite are in its campaign. I like everything they've said about the campaign, and I think that making it open world is just the kind of massive leap forward the franchise needs to reinvigorate itself, but it's also a big task to pull off. This trailer also showcased more of the Cortana Master Chief dynamic, and I've got to be honest, as a casual Halo fan, I'm just so burnt out on Cortana Chief drama. And I feel like the franchise desperately needs to get away from it, because for me, it's really starting to make the series feel like it's just spinning its wheels. My other concern after this showcase was that we still weren't given a release date for Infinite. The trailer just ended by saying holiday 2021, which does make me nervous that this game could slip into 2022. But hey, if that's what's necessary to make this game great, then by all means, I can wait to play it. This is a hugely important game for Xbox, and I think if it's anything less than great, it's going to be a huge problem. Most people didn't like Halo 5's campaign, and 4 seemed polarising among fans. So if this game doesn't knock it out of the park, I think it's going to leave fans feeling pretty burned. And if that happens, I truly think Halo will never again be the juggernaut that it once was. Diablo II Resurrected is a remaster of the fan favourite dungeon crawler and its expansions, and we now know that it'll be releasing on the 23rd of September on both PC and consoles. Many Diablo fans still consider 2 to be the best game in the series, so it's exciting that a whole new audience are going to be able to play it now. Diablo 2 Resurrected offers co-op action for up to 8 players, and 4K visuals at 60 frames per second. It also offers full cross-progression if you want to play across multiple devices. I love the Diablo games, so I'm stoked to play through this game with a fresh coat of paint on it. A Plaguetale Requiem is the sequel to the critical darling A Plague Tale Innocence. These stealth games take place in 14th century Europe, in the midst of a plague where hordes of rats roam the city. This horrifying trailer showcased a sea of rats moving like water. It was like something out of World War Z, but with rats replacing the zombies. A Plague Tale Requiem is another notable third-party game that'll be launching on Xbox Game Pass day 1. Far Cry 6 made its third appearance of the week at the Xbox Showcase. Fortunately, it was for Far Cry 6's best showing yet. This excellent gameplay trailer showcased protagonist Danny wreaking havoc across the island of Yara, with the most varied assortment of weapons and vehicles we've seen in a Far Cry game yet. It also introduced us to another absurd animal companion. This time it was a punk rooster that claws at enemies. With its CD shooting guns and parachuting buggies, Far Cry 6 is set to be the most over-the-top, bonkers Far Cry game yet. And that's exactly what I want this game to be. Knowing that this trailer was slated for the Xbox conference also explains why we only got a cinematic at the Ubisoft showcase. The ridiculously charming Slime Rancher 2 was announced with a trailer. This is a sequel to the fan favourite Slime Rancher, a game all about wrangling and raising slime. I liked the first game way more than I ever would have expected to, and while I think I only really played it for a weekend, I had a great time with it, so I'm for sure down to play a sequel. Shredders is a new snowboarding game that's aiming to be a spiritual successor to the Xbox exclusive Amped trilogy. I was always more of an SSX guy, but this game still looks pretty good, and seeing as it's on Game Pass, I'm definitely going to give Shredders a shot. I was also impressed by how crisp this game looks graphically, especially for a game being developed by a fairly small team. I love that this trailer ended by saying, "We've got a good feeling about December," which is such an earnest way of putting out a tentative release date for your title. I hope this game does hit its December release date, because that seems like a perfect time for this game. With only a couple of other games scheduled for December, this could allow Shredders to really stand out and not get lost in the shuffle of a more busy month. Atomic Heart is an action RPG set in an alternate universe version of the 1950s Soviet Union, where technology advanced way faster. It also features music from the legendary Mick Gordon, who composed the incredible soundtracks found in Doom 2016 and Doom Eternal. At this showcase, Atomic Heart presented one of the most insane, borderline incomprehensible trailers I've ever seen, and I'd be lying if I said I wasn't highly intrigued. Replaced is a pixel art platformer set in a cyberpunk world, and it might be one of the best looking games I've ever seen. Its detailed pixel art visuals have a great sense of depth, and the weather effects in the environment are breathtaking. This game's art style is just all around stunning. This was another game that really stands out to me as one of the highlights of this showcase. Replaced also reminded me a lot of the game The Last Night that Xbox showed in their presentation a few years back. That game's pitch was also similar, and its graphics were similarly gorgeous. A new update for Obsidian's survival game, Grounded, was shown. The Shroom and Doom update adds new features and content to Grounded, like achievements, pets, mushrooms that can be used when building structures, and the Broodmother, a horrific new spider boss. After previously only being available on PC, Switch, and mobile devices, the immensely popular multiplayer game, Among Us, is finally coming to other consoles. Among Us will launch on Xbox and PlayStation later this year. It'll also be increasing its party size with the introduction of 15-player lobbies. Aydan Chronicle is a spiritual successor to the beloved Suikoden series, and it was crowdfunded on Kickstarter by developers who worked on the original Suikoden games. The Kickstarter received over 46,000 backers, so it's clear that people are hungry for this game. Aydan Chronicle is a turn-based JRPG with a 6-character battle system. It boasts a deep story featuring 100 characters, incredible animation, and beautiful pixel art sprites. This is another pixel art game that blends 3D elements in to give backgrounds depth, giving Aydan Chronicle an almost Octopath Traveler-esque look. This is my kinda game. We also got a brief tease of Aydan Chronicle Rising, a surprise spin-off that's releasing a year before the full game. Unlike 100 Heroes, Rising is an action RPG, and it's promising to provide backstory for several of the characters featured in 100 Heroes. The Ascent is a twin-stick shooter with RPG elements from a brand new studio in Sweden. It's also another game leaning into the cyberpunk aesthetic. I love twin-stick shooters, so I'm down to try just about any shoot 'em up. But this being on Game Pass 100% seals the deal. A new trailer for Age of Empires 4 was shown. This isn't really my kind of game, but I know people absolutely adore the Age of Empires franchise. Apparently this game is drawing heavily from Age of Empires 2, as it's the most beloved entry in the series. Age of Empires 4 is also launching with 8 playable civilizations. The Outer Worlds 2 was revealed with a humorous trailer that mocked all the clichés regularly found in trailers. This trailer didn't really give us much aside from a logo, but I'm still incredibly excited for this game. The first Outer Worlds is a great RPG, and it seems like a game where a bigger budget sequel could be something truly remarkable. Obsidian have a lot of games in the pipeline at the moment. Not only are they working on this, they're also making a fantasy RPG called Avowed that was revealed last year, and they're also continuing to work on more content for Grounded. A new trailer revealed that Microsoft Flight Simulator will finally be arriving on Xbox Series X and S next month, after releasing on PC last year. This game looks absurdly beautiful and offers near endless replayability, as you can visit anywhere from your hometown to world famous landmarks. I've been itching to try this game since it launched last year, but I've been hanging out for the console release. It was also announced that Microsoft Flight Simulator will be getting Top Gun Maverick DLC later this year. This DLC will be completely free, which is nice because Flight Simulator DLC has a tendency to be quite pricey. Forza Horizon 5 was officially announced with a trailer and then given a meaty gameplay demo. Forza games are usually stunning, and this game is no different. With its photorealistic cars and environments, Horizon 5 is sure to be a massive visual showpiece for Xbox's new consoles. Forza Horizon 5 will take players to Mexico, one of the most geographically diverse countries in the world. This trailer showcased rainforests, snowy mountains, Mayan architecture, coastal towns, and even a volcano. And with Playground saying that Forza Horizon 5 features the series' largest and most diverse world yet, there's sure to be a lot of places for us to explore. Forza Horizon 5 also lets you create your own events and modes. One example showed players having to drive through a series of piñatas, while another showed players crashing through giant bowling pins. While I don't care about the mainline Forza Motorsport games, as I'm not a fan of simulation racing, I've always loved the arcadey Horizon games, so I was glad to see this get announced. I was also surprised to hear just how soon this game is coming, with Horizon 5 being announced less than 5 months out from release. I always love when developers announce games this way. Xbox closed out this year's showcase with Redfall, a new IP from Arcane Studios. Redfall is an open-world immersive shooter that can be played solo or co-op. It's also another Xbox exclusive from a Bethesda studio. This CGI trailer showed Redfall's interesting-looking cast of characters facing off against an army of vampires. I thought the gadgets and tech that the characters used to fend off these vampires was especially cool and creative. We saw a robot companion, a stake gun, and even an umbrella that projects a shield of energy. It also seems like the protagonists might have some special powers, with one of the characters seemingly sending out a raven to scout out the area, and another character seeming to telekinetically reload her gun. I love this game's style, so I'm excited to see what the gameplay looks like. That was everything announced at the Microsoft and Bethesda E3 Showcase for 2021. I thought this was a great showcase that offered a very high quality lineup of games. I also really appreciated how smoothly they implemented the suite of games in development at Bethesda into this showcase. I've got to be honest, I was a little apprehensive about buying a new Xbox at launch because I think my Xbox One was probably the least used console I've ever owned. I probably only used it 2 or 3 times a year throughout its lifespan. Because I'm more of a PlayStation guy, I play all of my third-party games there because I'm hopelessly addicted to trophies. In the end, I decided to grab a Series S as well because I wanted to continue playing Xbox's exclusive lineup, and I have faith in what Xbox are doing with their studio acquisitions and Game Pass. And this showcase really confirmed for me that I made the right decision. There's probably already more exclusives announced for the Series X and S that I'm interested in than there were for the Xbox One in its entire life cycle. I'd be remiss to not point out that I was a little disappointed that we didn't see any new trailers for some of the games Xbox have already announced, like Hellblade 2, Fable, and Perfect Dark. I'm especially surprised we never saw anything new from Hellblade. That game was announced alongside the Series X, so I would have thought we'd have seen more of it by now. It's insane to look back at the lineup of games shown in this presentation and think that everything except for Far Cry, Battlefield and Diablo will be available on Xbox Game Pass day one. Game Pass has 100% secured its spot as the best value in gaming. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to like and subscribe, and remember, I'm making a video like this recapping every major conference at E3, so be sure to check them all out.